Hi, I'm Maarten van Aalst and I'm director of the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Center. In my work, I'm asked questions about changing risk all the time. Questions from our local volunteers, our national Red Cross and Red Crescent societies, national governments, but also in international negotiations, for instance about the new Paris Agreement on climate change. And it's only when extreme events happen that we can really learn how these risks are changing. And attribution analyses allow us to say if climate change played a role, and if so, how big a role, but also to learn about the other factors that are driving changes in risks, and in the end, cause the impacts that we care about in the Red Cross Red Crescent.
Hi, I'm Arrighi from the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Center. The Raising Risk Awareness Project is a partnership of 5 global institutions, as well as institutions located in Kenya, Ethiopia, and India. And the objective of this work and the collaboration between these institutions is to expand the use of extreme event attribution in long-term planning, decision-making, and policy. Over the course of this project, we've had a few really interesting insights from this lens. One is that there's really a value in, there's really a policy value rather, in events that don't have a strong climate change influence. There's an initial reaction to think that these would be less relevant from a long-term planning and policy perspective, but really when there is no climate change influence, the vulnerability and exposure components that frame these events and result in impacts from these events become very relevant in terms of policy and planning processes and really reducing longer-term risk. A second really interesting observation that we've had that we're looking forward to exploring in the future is the value of the return time information that we get from these events, how return times of extreme events have changed or are likely to change, and integrating that information into urban planning and engineering considerations when we're looking at acceptable levels of risk that have to be dealt with in those contexts in terms of longer-term infrastructure projects.
Hi, I'm Roop Singh from the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Center, and I've been working on the RRA program for the last year or so. The RRA program brings in 3 key components. The first is the science of extreme event attribution, so looking at how is the risk of an extreme event changing due to climate change. It also brings in a really important component in terms of how do we communicate this changing risk and how do we make it lastly relevant to decision makers who have to make decisions about how do we plan for the future in terms of different types of extreme events, including droughts, floods, heat waves, and how do we allocate our scarce funding to plan for the future. One of the really striking things that I think is really important from the RRA program is that we look at real extreme events that have happened in the recent past. And so when we do the science and we communicate about them, people actually go back and remember, wow, this is an event that's happened and it's something that we have experienced, and now we can actually understand scientifically how is the risk of this event changing. So in that sense, the decision-making aspect becomes a lot more real, and it's based on the scientific facts, which is, I think, one of the most important things that RRA brings.
Hello, I am Jjemba and I work for the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Center. In the RRA project, I was coordinating the East African team, basically on behalf of the Red Cross Climate Center. What struck me most were 2 things. One, having our own scientists go to Oxford to learn to conduct attribution analysis. That was great. I think it helped to build in-country capacity. And secondly, getting the policy, well, the practitioners coming together to have a conversation with the scientists. I think that is very promising for the policies within the region in the years to come.